Over a period of 90 years, the Ames Water Treatment Plant sat at the end of 5th Street, serving Iowa State University and the citizens of Ames. The original plant was constructed as a 2 million gallon per day iron removal facility. As the community grew over the years, so did the capacity of the plant.
The driver behind this project initially was to make sure we can meet peak demands. Around the 4th of July in 2007, it really caught our attention. Some of the demands that we were seeing were at the time the highest we had seen. And there was in the plans, a project out in the future, but that really kind of brought this into focus and said, hey, we need to look at this sooner rather than later.
In late 2007 into 2008, we started an infrastructure needs and capacity study. And it was looking pretty intensively at this facility. What are all the challenges and the limitations? And we looked at electrical and structural and mechanical and ADA compliance and a whole bunch of other code issues as well. And that's what all ultimately led us to the spring of 2009 to make a recommendation to the City Council that they look at constructing a new water treatment plant at a new site. About mid-year 2009, the City Council endorsed that plan to do that. A key part of that was at a new site. And so the next thing that we needed to do was try to find a location. And there were a couple of sites that we looked at, but one very quickly rose to the top of the list.
We were able to identify a site that's roughly about 3/4 of a mile from the existing plant site. The treatment plant itself, kind of the heart of it, was built in the late 1920s. And about every other decade there was an expansion or a modernization. And so we have some ground storage reservoirs, big tanks that hold lots of water. We have our high service pump station that still has a number of years left in it. This is infrastructure that if we were able to continue using, it would save money for our customers.
We did do a cost analysis that looked at renovating the existing facility versus constructing new. And what that showed us was that a new facility on a new site would actually be about 20% cheaper than trying to renovate and modernize here at the existing site. A challenge with that site, though, was the process of getting it transferred from the federal government to the city. That was a pretty long, involved process. It involved literally 2 failed acts of Congress to try to get the site acquired for us. But eventually we were able to effect a swap of property where we purchased a parcel that the USDA wanted, and then in exchange we swapped the site that we wanted that they owned for one that we owned that they wanted.
In 2009, as John mentioned, those negotiations began. We knew it would literally take an act of Congress if we were to sell the property, and there were some loopholes in the law, as only lawyers can find. And one of the loopholes was we could make a land swap. And the cooperation with the city to help us pull off this land swap and to achieve the trade of this land for some other land that we could use to help manage our soil nutrient management plan for the Iowa DNR has been most beneficial for us, and I hope it's as beneficial for the city of Ames with this new facility being constructed here.
We don't build many new facilities of this size, specifically in Iowa or even in the Midwest. And so the opportunity to build a new plant is once in a lifetime for someone who has a career like I do. In fact, by the time we're done, it'll probably be a 10-year process from the very earliest concept that we may be thinking we need something different to the time that we actually take over the plant.
A 10-year process to build a facility that will hopefully serve the community for decades to come. After clearing the hurdle of securing the site, design of the new water treatment plant could begin. Keen on optimizing the plant for our specific needs, several water and pollution control employees provided valuable input.
Well, one of the things that's been a hallmark of the design effort with the city staff is a high level of employee interaction and involvement in the project. And we talked at one point in time, we had a lot of folks together and we were just kind of going around the table talking about, when this is all done, how would you define success? And one of the really neat things that I heard brought up at that point in time is that on the day when we do the ribbon cutting and we start taking public folks through the facility for the first time, that everybody on our staff has got something in the facility they can point to at a tour and say, that was designed that way because of my suggestion.
We set forth a goal to bring everybody into the project who wanted to participate, and that's really what we did the whole way through. From the earliest planning stages all the way to startup, people had every opportunity to be involved. Now, you know, people with engineering backgrounds, okay, yeah, that made sense, but people like the frontline staff, like operators and maintenance workers, some of them thought, you know, what do I have to add to a construction project like this? Well, the answer is a lot. In fact, I think that's one of the things that make this project for us unique is not everybody typically has, from like a frontline staff member, have an opportunity to participate, especially in the design process. You know, they look at plans and think, hey, what, you know, don't forget about this, you know, that may not be apparent to the designer, but somebody turning the wrenches and pushing the buttons and fixing the motors, oh, it's very apparent that there may be a better way to do this. So all these extra eyes got put on these plans and drawings and went through in detail. I know we are definitely going to bear the fruit of those labors to do that. So all the staff involvement is the biggest takeaway, and I think it was very special for, I know, me, and I think everybody to be part of that.
We had several staff people reviewing the landscaping and making recommendations, making sure it was things that we wanted not only for show but were easy to maintain. We have numerous areas in the plant where our operations and maintenance staff looked at things and really encouraged the consultants to revise a design to make it easier to maintain. It really has been a team effort by everyone involved.
In the summer of 2014, with the design of the new plant complete, city staff sent the project out for bid. And on October 14th, 2014, City Council took action.
I move alternative 1 that we award the base bid contract to Knutson Construction Services Incorporated of Minneapolis, Minnesota in the amount of $52,497,000.
Second.
With enthusiasm. Roll call.
Aye.
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 2 days later, the groundbreaking ceremony took place, and a construction process that would take just under 3 years began.
Yeah, today, October 16th, 2014, we're finally breaking ground here. We had the bid date a few weeks ago, and Knutson, our construction contractors here. We had a number of key players speak, one from the Department of Natural Resources, from the National Animal Disease Center. Of course, we couldn't have done it without them at the site. So we're very excited to get going here and broke ground, and we'll start seeing machines move dirt around, hopefully yet this year.
Part of being an engineer, watching things actually get put together, figuring out the ways that it's going to be built. We're about a year into the project. We now have a foundation in the treatment portion. We've got areas that you can start to see. You can start to see the filters being formed. You can very clearly see the backwash recovery tank. We are starting to see areas excavated that are for the basement of the office administration area. You can start to see maintenance area taking shape, treatment areas taking shape. We still have 2 years left in the project. That encompasses finishing the construction, getting everything installed, but that also includes the startup and essentially optimization of the treatment plant before we're officially up and running at this site.
There was so much going on at any one time, from the various contractors to decisions we had to make as staff to just watching how much got accomplished every day. It was nothing short of chaotic, but it was really impressive to watch how our staff were able to keep track of all the work going on, the consultants were able to help keep track of it, and just the overall schedule that the contractor had to get this water plant completed.
Once construction started, we kept a very high presence on site. Between our permanent staff and interns that we had working for us, we had somebody out here easily every day, and for the biggest majority of every day. I couldn't even hazard a guess at the number of construction photos that were taken over the 3-year life of the facility. In terms of interacting with the contractor, there were daily conversations happening, but then every week and every other week we would have regular construction progress meetings where we would get together at a table as opposed to just walking down a construction site. And we'd go through what are the things that happened in the last 2 weeks, what are the things that are planned to come in the next 3 weeks. Early on, it didn't require as much coordination with us. The contractor could kind of manage their own schedule. As it got towards the end and we were ready to start bringing it online, there was daily coordination of things that needed to happen between us and the contractor to actually bring the facility to life.
Well, the construction process in general was long and challenging, but when you get to the end, it feels pretty rewarding to have seen everything from the ground up. Something unique, I think we knew the magnitude of type of construction, but getting actually to see the huge hole that we had to put in to get all the footings in and all these tanks in, that was probably the most incredible part for me.
I enjoy the construction process. I have an engineering background, so I tend to see things from a design perspective, but I will say that one of the things that I really took away from this was a renewed appreciation for the skill of the people who make this happen, who take it from the drawings to actually build these structures. There is a tremendous amount of coordination that has to go along amongst all those contractors. They're very skilled people, and I kind of gained a renewed appreciation of that. I've seen a lot of different construction projects, never one of this scale. I've been involved in building towers or pump stations or wells, never a whole treatment plant of this size. So just the scope of the coordination and the skill that went into that, I found to be very impressive.
Thank you, Mayor Campbell. All of you folks with your hands up in the air, look at what you did.
What initially began in 2007 as a modernization and expansion of the old water plant culminated in a community celebration of a new water plant. Citizens lined up in a light rain to wait their turn to walk around in what will become a moment in history: the coronation and public opening of Ames' second water treatment plant, a plant that is poised to serve the community for decades to come.
The treatment technology that we chose to use in the new facility is essentially what we were using in the old plant. It's a conventional lime softening plant. If you pick up an environmental engineering textbook and you look at lime softening, you'll see a flow chart that mirrors exactly what we're doing. We told the consultants in one of the very first meetings we had, whatever you do, don't screw up the taste of the water. And it was really gratifying once that new plant had been online for a couple months and the State Drinking Water Association held its best tasting water competition and we took first place. That tells us that we accomplished that very important goal of not only maintaining the safety but maintaining the taste and the aesthetics of the water. The big improvement moving from the old facility to the new is that we took several generations in equipment technology, took that step forward. One of the really big changes from an operational perspective is the way that the lime is handled. Specifically at the old plant, we used paste slakers that was just continuously processing lime and releasing it into the facility. When we were doing technology evaluations during the design process, we looked at a different way of slaking that lime, and it was a batch slaking process. And the advantage of that batch process is that it's easier to automate. It takes less continual input from an operator to manage that process. So now what it does, instead of continuously producing lime and feeding it directly into the facility, just like the name implies, it produces it in a batch, and it gets held in a batch tank and gets fed into the process as needed from a batch tank. The process is highly automated. The level of controls on it are really pretty amazing when you look at how in depth they are. It measures the temperature of the water, and if the water's too cold, it adds more lime to heat it up. If it gets too hot, it'll add more water. The tanks actually sit on a weigh scale, and so it's mixing a perfect batch, and it remembers from batch to batch what the optimal mix is, so that over time it can adjust and fine-tune itself to give us an optimal lime feed rate. It's really a pretty unique difference from what we were doing at the old plant.
I think my favorite part of this is it's all new and we really get to make it ours. First few months of this plant's life, we've been treating water. It's gone great. We're getting to the point where we can really optimize things, dig into some of the details, and are we running filters at the right rate? Some of the things that may not be real interesting to some people, but me, I love getting into that stuff. We have a lot of people around here that do too, and we really get to make it ours. The old plant, the routine was down so well, it had been optimized. It was running as efficiently as it could. Here we get to create that. We have a lot of capabilities that we didn't have before, a lot of tools to analyze the individual processes to make them efficient as we possibly can. I look forward to that. We've gotten into a little bit of that. There's a lot more to come. So that's one of my favorite aspects of this.
I think my favorite part of this plant is actually the location of it and the architecture outside. This site previously was a pretty dilapidated eyesore for the community. It hadn't been used, and so now we have this incredible facility on a very beautiful site, and we're able to keep that beauty for the site. And people come through Ames now, they see the water treatment plant, they can see it as they come into the community. It's obviously a huge source of pride in this community, and so that's, I think, my favorite part of the plant.
My favorite part is the whole thing. It's been amazing to be able to watch it be built from the ground up. And I would say just the idea behind it, the fact that everyone worked together and we have this amazing facility that everyone feels like they've contributed to it being complete. This has been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for someone in a utility, and one of the things that I'll remember 20, 30 years down the road is just being able to be involved in it. So I started as just being one of the members of the team, transitioned to being project manager, and I really enjoyed the responsibility. I really enjoyed working with everyone from the water plant staff to the consulting team to the contractor. It's really been an amazing opportunity to be part of something this big.
This is a once in every 5 generation event for the Ames community. And as I think now, 20, 30 years down the road, as I look back on it, it's going to be that sense of pride of driving by this facility and seeing that it's still here, still serving the community, meeting that needs of really protecting the way of life that we have in the community. Because the way we live just couldn't occur without drinking water.